winner immediately. That which would be the morning of the 17th, because I'm going to draw it at July 16th p.m. midnight. That person, he or she, will join me here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for the national program and just share what you're going to do with your card. And by the way, what's that worth? Well, I thought you never ask. Let's say that gas is $4.12 a gallon. Let's say that your car gets 20 miles per gallon. This will make it easier to do the math. And let's say that you're going to buy $250 worth of gas with our free gas card. That's equivalent to 1,213 miles. Or that's a trip from Chicago to Miami with about 100 miles short. L.A. to Seattle with gas left over for you to run around in Seattle or the other direction. Dallas to Boston, you can go 70% of the way from Dallas to Boston on a $250 gift card at 20 miles per gallon at $4.12 a gallon. I think the national average now is $4.06. And by the way, if your car calls for high octane unleaded fuel, you can very easily use mid-grade octane, and your car will get probably a little better gas mileage. But even if it got the same gas mileage, it's still going to provide for you cheaper by the gallon, cheaper by the dozen. You can go from Atlanta to D.C. Twice, and you can go from D.C. to New York City 5.5 times with a $250 gift card that I'm going to give away on Gimme Gas, Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Let's look at hybrids. How many of you are driving poor gas mileage automobiles? And when I say poor, it's going to be somewhere in the teens. You know, that's about what cars get in town. When I say cars, an SUV, a Ford Expedition is lucky if it gets 14, probably in the high 13s. And we're talking city driving here. A Toyota Land Cruiser will get you about 16 miles per gallon. A Chrysler Town and Country will get you about 18 miles per gallon. If you're a conservative driver in town, that car will get 24 miles per gallon on the highway. So the point is, and here's the headline, some hybrids are really a better deal now that gasoline is going toward $5, and you're going to see it go toward $5. By the way, as an aside, I heard this morning on one of, I think it was CNN, a guest that they had on CNN, that if they pass this law, that gasoline would drop down to $2 a gallon. We better hope and pray that gasoline doesn't return to $2 a gallon, and I will tell you why. If you think this country is dead in its tracks right now, it will surely be dead in its tracks, because all of the money and all of the investments are banking on return on investment over the next 4, 5, 10 years, probably 5 years, for those heavy hitters, those big companies, and that's based on the price of crude. It's based on high gas prices, because we indeed need to reduce and eliminate, if possible, our addiction to oil, not just foreign oil, but to oil. So to drill is not all that great. In fact, I want to read with you something, and read for you, share with you, and this is from the Campaign for America's Future, from the editor, Bill Scher. Excuse me, Bill, if I didn't pronounce your name right. You'll get over it. Citing the data from the Department of Energy, he shows that the coastal drilling combined with drilling in ANWR, another solution backed by Bush and conservatives, would lower the price of the pump by less than 6 cents a gallon by 2025. It's not exactly the solution that we need. Those are facts that are taken from the Department of Energy. And that's how long it takes to locate the gas, and how long it takes the oil, and then drill it, and then refine it, and what have you. You have a hand up, Bill?
Yeah, mine.
Okay.
One of the things I didn't understand about that whole ANWR drilling and wanting to put more pumps in the Gulf Coast, what have you, I understand that like 75% of the drills out in our Gulf Coast are not even active right now.
Well, there's another more unnerving release, and it's what I referred to a few seconds ago, and that there are talking about leases, but there are some 68 million acres that the oil companies already have the licenses to drill on. And that was a big bone of contention on CNN. And folks, let me tell you this. if we were on an Easter egg hunt, that would be easy. But if we were, and I said, okay, we're going to have an Easter egg hunt in my service facility, which is 15,000 square feet, and we can hide, 100 eggs anywhere, within plain sight, within sight, with the rules, that doesn't mean you're going to find them. So just because we have 68 million or whatever the number was, the correct number of licensed acreage that the oil companies already have, number one, doesn't mean that there's oil under that ground. They suspect that there is oil, or they would not have leased that property. But there are steps. One, and I don't know how many steps because that's not in my business, but although I have invested in an oil well, as we all have at one time or other, I've lost some money, but I'm fortunate enough that the last one that I invested in has returned about $2,000 a year for the last 12, 15 years. And it just keeps going. And it's in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's been good for me. The only reason that I got in is because a good friend of mine was really hot and heavy into that investment in oil wells. And for me, it's like 4.004 share. So whenever the well goes down, there's $650,000. Well, for me, that's maybe $1,200 that I have to pay, or maybe $2,000. So that eats up that year's profit. So it's kind of an ebb and flow. Had I to do it over, well, I couldn't say that, because there again, now I have the track record, so I could say I wish I had 40% if I had had the power and the liquidity to invest to start with. But I mean, I would have been ahead by big time. But then when it breaks down, my responsibility is larger. So let's get back to your car. Let's get back to hybrids, which is what I wanted to share with you. And in my opinion, number one, let's look at a Prius. There's no doubt that Prius is a fine automobile. There's also no doubt that it's $5,000 more than it was last year. So if you have, and I had a doctor to one of my customers to come